Yeah. Hello. Just take this one off here. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you for letting me come here, and thank you for a very nice introduction to the Spanish bridges. That was very impressive. My name is Jesper Henriksen, and I'll just talk a little bit about both some very small Danish bridges, but also Dissing of Vejling's experience with working on a much broader scale example here in China. And just to show you a little picture, I mean, this is some of the people experienced from our little bicycle snake in Copenhagen. And what we love so much about this picture is that we can see how happy people is about this bridge. And it's maybe not so much about the detailing of the bridge, but it's more about the experience of the bridge. And I think actually this was more or less where our little adventure between China and Denmark started. The bridge itself is the bicycle snake. Probably some of you have seen it before. It was actually a little job we got from the municipality of Copenhagen, starting down here in the corner. Let me see if I can get this to her. Yeah, down there. Where the client asked us to make some sort of a ramp structure to get the people from in front of this big shopping mall down to the quayside, and then they could pass on to Bryggebroen, which is also one of our bridges in the background. We soon learned that it was very difficult to make a little bicycle ramp down the corner, so we proposed this structure. And by actually extend the bridge to its 230 meters long, we also had much less inclination. We tried to twist it to get both a nicer experience for the bicyclist, but also to enlarge it. The bridge itself, is fairly simple, but it was very soon an icon for Copenhagen and for the bicyclists. And as Andreas also mentioned yesterday, this is an example of taking the bicyclist and the pedestrian on different levels. And in this context, it actually works quite well. All the confrontation that is between the very aggressive Danish bicyclist and the pedestrian, they were torn away. So it was a very interesting experience, and we also have this, what we in Denmark call the urban living room. And in short, it is that we have all the people living in smaller and smaller apartments. The density in Copenhagen becomes more and more. So people are in Denmark not used to go as much out in the summer. But therefore it's also important that you have these spots and these hubs where people are attracted to. And we found out that actually this bridge became one of the most popular places in Copenhagen for people to meet and to use the harbor to swim in. So suddenly this quite dull and unexperienced place was suddenly very interesting. And you can see a big cross-section, very simple. And again here from below, no maintenance, very simple structure, all steel. It had around 20,000 cyclists per day, which is quite impressive. That's led to us a couple of years ago to a call from a contractor in Shenzhen in China, CCC Steel. And they asked if we wanted to help with build a different kind of bicycle snake, but this time in China. And we of course said yes to the job and went over there. The idea was that they have, as you can see here on the road on the top, is that they have a BRT, a Busset Rapid Transport Line, that go on, you could say, second level where there's only a buses going. The idea was then to introduce, which is the green layer, a bicycle path below that one, so we actually have access from the buses down to the bikes, and then you can also get further onto to the area. We quickly done some studies. You can see down to the left of the project. We also found out that the entire length was not 250 meters we've been used to in Copenhagen, but 7.6 kilometers, which was quite something different. So we also learned that the pace of this thing was quite impressive. They built a mock-off with 100 meters steel bridge just to test how it was between two visits over there. When the project went very, very fast, they built 60 meters of bridge per day. So just to say, this was very, very fast, and also meant that we had to really do our best to try to follow both the design process but also the build process. And it was we learned some lessons there. We didn't have the time to look into every little detail, but we had to, sit on the back of the tiger and then try to hang on as we went along. But it was an interesting experience, and as you can see here, this is from the construction. There was a lot of good thoughts in the project. You had these bicycle hubs where you can go down and you could rent a bike, and you could take the bike either on the bicycle lane, or you could go down and on ground and then continue to your work or your home. So the idea was also that you should have access to big stores and offices and so on from this level. So the idea was that you introduce this, you could say, first level, but of course also try to get access as much as possible to the ground itself. The city of Xiamen also consists of this big island, as you can see here in the middle. And the special thing with this island is that actually have some very, very beautiful green mountains in the middle of the city. It was a wish from the client side that instead of people just living around the nature, they should also be able to walk around and to observe it closer. The thought was then, by not just living around the nature but also going in and observing it, people were also feeling more reluctant to actually preserve it and be more proud of these beautiful areas. So we got this little job of doing again a couple of kilometers of what we called this Xiamen footpath, which the idea also was that they wanted to have people out and walking, experience the nature. And again, it was a little bit in combination with this, our urban living. We tried to getting people out of their houses, out and use and observe nature. The terrain was very steep and hilly, so the idea behind the concept was to make something that was very light and durable and easy to install. Some of the places were only accessible on, more or less on horseback. So it was the job was to make things as light as possible, but also giving them the opportunity to actually dismantle the things afterwards. So this is maybe not a structure that will stand there for 100 years, but it will have its time, and as long as it's used, then it will be there. And then they have the opportunity to maybe take it down. Yeah, if we could just go back, and of course the idea was that you have the grill that you walk on, so you can actually look down and see the nature. But of course it also gave you these beautiful opportunity, as you'll also see a little bit later, so you can see the entire city and see from a totally different perspective. The thing itself is 23 kilometers long. You have viewing platforms, iconic footbridges, meeting points. The 11 kilometers is elevated, and you can see it goes along here on the mountainside. So of course it was also important for us to get down and going on normal footpaths. But again, this is a way that could say normal people, disabled people also could get up and walking around the tree crones and experience the beautiful views. The problem was of course also how to get up there, and this was one of the bigger challenges. So we made all these different access and entrance points. We also have to cross some very big and busy roads, and we tried also to make all these small bridges to become something that the locals could use, and thereby try to lure people into using the entire footpath. Again, we have up in the mountains some very lightweight structures. It was, of course, a fantastic experience for us as bridge architects to suddenly work in this very beautiful environment when you're coming from very flat Denmark and Copenhagen. So, and again, trying to do it as light, as minimal as possible. And here you can see the city in the background. And I don't know if possible, but over in the background here, you can actually see where some of the other bridges are started and going down here and continue afterwards. Just a small cable stay bridge. We also did a lot of small local elevator towers and staircases so people could get up or down using it. This is just an example showing, let me see here, yeah. This was just an example of showing, this is the BRT line going here, the buses. You can see our bicycle lane below. And then you have this is actually the end station for one of the footpaths. So this is going to be a reclaimed area they're going to build on, and you have a lake here. So you actually have access between all the bridges, but you also have access down to the ground. Another one, of course, there was a lot of, that we need to do something special with the entrance. The client was quite keen on to use as much, power and money and time on these points where people actually could see it. They were a little bit afraid that if we just made a footpath up the mountain, it will be just more or less forgotten. So the idea was also to make these structures of bridges quite visible. This is again an underslung, and the idea was that they wanted this space up here so you could walk up and then you could enjoy the view of the lake. At the same time, we of course used it structurally, so you can see here, have the underslung here going up and using the entire structure here as a span, backspan. We also had some very interesting long span bridges. As we used to in China, it's also good to have a little world record bridge coming along. So this was one of our try for that one. We actually started up here with a single tower mast, but it had this bad feng shui. So it was being perceived as a little bit too aggressive. So we came up with some different proposal, less aggressive, and they found this V-shaped one as the most, what could you say, the one that they liked the most. At this point, it was quite a challenging structure. So we, of course, not of course, but we were approached Schleichbergerman, and then they did a lot of work on the structural engineering. But it's been a fantastic experience again to work with them, and I think the outcome was quite fantastic. On the way, the client was of course very nervous about could it last or would it fall down and so on and so on. So they proposed that we should place just some very light piers. Some light piers here in the green areas. So, but they will hardly be notable, and they will support the structure. But after many and long discussion, we succeeded in getting them to drop that idea. But of course, you can see here, I mean, we connect these two parts of the city, and the footpath just continue. And whereas in the older days, you had to cross over this big infrastructure thing. Again. Yeah, and you can see, it still looks quite fantastic, this incredible long box just spanning. The little thing is, we're in a hurricane zone, this little wind fairing here is to break the wind, and it also have, I think it's around 17 built-in mast dampers in the deck itself, and also actually inside the two towers is built-in mast dampers. We also need to come up with a proposal for a portal. This is this Yunshan Bridge. It's quite a big intersection we need to cross over, so we proposed this big arch spanning from one side to another, leaning a little bit back, and then by keeping the floating deck in balance. Again, a quite magnificent structure. We had Schleichbergerman in again and assisting. The collaboration with you could say the local engineers was of course always a challenge, but I think we by the end of the day understood each other, and but it is different to work with different Chinese laws and regulations and stuff like that. So there was a lot of meetings back and forth, and we also had to employ a Chinese girl sitting out there and taking care of all the correspondence for us. But again, we think the outcome is quite beautiful. You have this portal, which also is part of the logo for the entire footpath. One other little project along the way was this big reservoir, which, of course, since we fill up with rainwater, the water level will go a little bit up and down. So they also wanted, as an extension, having this path going around the reservoir, and this was like should be a local meeting point for the people living, of course, down in this area. So the idea is that you could walk around the lake, enjoy, see the different shift in the water level, and then we have this quite little fun viewing platform. There's been some discussion if it was a bridge or a viewing platform, but I think the correct term is probably a viewing platform. Again, a little fun structure here, and of course the fun thing with this place is that the water level is shifting up and down, and thereby these trees and some rocks will appear and disappear. Our concept for this one was maybe a little bit different than the end product. We had thought that we could come up with, we had come up with a more slim and concept with cross bracing, and we also wanted to have it a little bit lower towards the water, so we actually walk down, and you could walk around here in the circle. You can sit. There was some shading and so on, but by the end of the day, it was lifted a little bit up higher, and the cross bracing was taken out, so the whole thing got a little bit more, could say, heavy to look at that and participate it. But still, it's a fantastic little structure, and again, it has become a symbol of the whole footpath, and it's been quite fun, and people visiting all the day, night. Again, this is Sten Trøjborg here in the middle, as some of you may know, who was out there taking a trip on the bicycle snake. But as you can see, there has been some, of course, some big differences, and it has been a very fruitful collaboration for us, but we also learned something on the way. Of course, the hierarchy in the decision making is something that we had to learn, and I mean, we never probably spoke to the real decision leaders, but had to give recommendations to the engineers that were taking forward to a bigger panel. So that way of working can, of course, be a little bit frustrating. Whereas we in Denmark is, of course, more or less used to meet the client more or less all the time, so to speak. Again, the attitude, the sky is the limit. There is no, I mean, if you can draw it or you can dream it up, then they will also give it a shot. So in that respect, it's been fantastic to work, and to actually, as a city, as Xiamen, to take such a big step and saying, okay, we have seen this bicycle snake in Copenhagen, 200 meters. Why not make 7 kilometers here in Xiamen? It's quite fantastic. The whole build time and design time is of course a big challenge, especially for a smaller office as us. Personal meeting culture is of course very strong. We have to be present there, or at least come as much as possible. And that's a very important thing that we have learned. And so keeping up with the personal relations is, of course, very important. Again, the amount on the details we learned also, or maybe a little bit on the hard way, to look a little bit the other way sometimes when we saw some of the detailing. But it's also something you just have to have in the back of your mind, that you not have to sit and over-detail every little balustrade, every little light detail, but make a design that is simple and robust, and that's definitely the way forward. We can see that the people are using it. There's been some going a little bit up and down with how many people are actually driving on bikes on this long stretch. So that's been maybe a little bit of a challenge with these rental bikes, but it's being used. We are very happy to see that you can see up here the two guys in the wheelchair. Disabled people actually possible for them to getting around, driving around on the footpath. And again, it's been a symbol for the whole city, and it's quite a fantastic piece of structure, and it's widely used, and they're very proud of it. Yes, thank you.